The Galactic Defense Academy's main training hall buzzed with nervous energy as first-year cadets gathered for their monthly combat evaluation. Towering crystalline walls reflected the artificial sunlight streaming through the dome overhead, casting dancing shadows across the polished metal floor. Among the crowd of various alien species, Zara Chin stood out like a sore thumb, not just because she was one of only 3 humans in the entire academy, but because she was barely 5 feet tall and looked like she could be knocked over by a strong breeze. "Look at the little earthling," sneered Korath, a 7-foot-tall saurian whose scales gleamed emerald in the light. His predatory yellow eyes fixed on Marcus Webb, another human cadet who was currently surrounded by a circle of hostile aliens. "Thinks he can compete with real warriors." Marcus had been at the academy for 6 months, longer than Zara, and had earned respect through sheer determination and tactical brilliance. But today, something was different. Today, the other cadets seemed intent on proving that humans didn't belong among the galaxy's elite defenders. The evaluation system was simple but brutal. Cadets fought in randomly selected groups, with winners advancing to the next round and losers facing remedial training. The Academy's AI, known as the Arbiter, selected opponents based on skill assessments and species compatibility. What the AI didn't account for was pride, prejudice, and the burning desire of certain species to put humans in their place. "Webb, Marcus," the Arbiter's melodious voice echoed through the hall. "You will face Thrak of Vega Prime, Ilis of the Centauri Collective, and Korath of Soria Prime in a 4-against-1 elimination match." The hall fell silent. Even the instructors, positioned around the perimeter, exchanged glances. 4-against-1 matches were rare, typically reserved for advanced cadets or those who had shown exceptional ability. Marcus had shown exceptional ability, but not enough to warrant this level of challenge. "Arbiter," called out Instructor Valdres, a blue-skinned Andromedan with silver eyes that missed nothing. "What parameters generated this match configuration?" Based on recent performance metrics, Cadet Webb's tactical scores have exceeded standard thresholds by 340%. The system has adjusted difficulty accordingly. The AI's response was perfectly logical and completely heartless. Zara pushed through the crowd, her dark eyes blazing with anger. She'd watched Marcus struggle for months, not because he lacked skill, but because every alien instructor seemed determined to test him beyond normal limits. They spoke of humans as if they were laboratory specimens, interesting but ultimately inferior. "That's not a test," she called out, her voice carrying further than her small frame suggested it should. "That's an execution." Several alien cadets turned to stare at her, some with amusement, others with open contempt. She was the newest arrival at the academy, having been selected from Earth's accelerated program just 2 weeks ago. Unlike Marcus, who had earned his place through traditional channels, Zara had been chosen through what the academy termed special circumstances, a designation that made her fellow cadets suspicious and the instructors watchful. Koratha's laugh was like breaking glass. "The little female wants to protect her mate. How primitive." "He's not my mate," Zara said, her voice steady despite the flush creeping up her neck. "He's my fellow human, and this match is rigged." "All matches carry risk," Instructor Valdres said, though her tone suggested she agreed with Zara's assessment. "The Arbiter's selections are final." Marcus stepped forward, his jaw set in determination. At 6 feet tall with broad shoulders and calloused hands from years of manual labor on Earth's outer colonies, he looked more like a soldier than a student. "I'll take the match." The combat area was a circular platform 50 feet in diameter, surrounded by an energy barrier that would contain the fight and prevent serious injury. At least, that was the theory. The barrier's safety protocols could be adjusted, and Zara noticed several senior cadets huddled around a control panel, their expressions suggesting they weren't discussing academic matters. As Marcus entered the circle, Zara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the academy's climate controls. She'd seen fights before, both in training and in the underground leagues that flourished in Earth's outer settlements. This had the feel of something more than a test, it felt like a lynching. Thrak was a vegan, a species known for their incredible speed and agility. His forearms moved independently, each capable of striking with the force of a sledgehammer. Ilis belonged to the Centauri Collective, a hive-minded species whose members could anticipate each other's movements perfectly and, in this case, anticipate their partner's movements as well. Korath brought raw power and natural weapons in the form of razor-sharp claws and teeth. Against the 3 of them, Marcus had his training, his intelligence, and whatever fighting instincts he'd developed growing up on the frontier worlds where survival often came down to being tougher than whatever wanted to kill you. The fight began with the Arbiter's chime, a clear note that seemed to hang in the air for a moment before chaos erupted. Thrak moved first, his forearms creating a blur of motion as he closed the distance to Marcus in 2 bounding leaps. Marcus rolled left, came up in a crouch, and drove his elbow toward Thrak's solar plexus only to find empty air as the vegan twisted away with inhuman flexibility. Eyeless attacked from behind, her movements synchronized with some invisible signal from her hive mind. Marcus sensed the attack somehow and spun around, catching her wrist and using her momentum to throw her toward Karath. But Karath was ready, catching his teammate and setting her down gently before lunging forward with claws extended. The crowd roared as Marcus barely avoided having his throat opened. He grabbed Karatha's wrist, trying to use the Saurian's own strength against him, but Karath was too experienced for such a simple technique. He broke free and backhanded Marcus across the face, sending the human stumbling backward. "Getting tired already, human?" Karath taunted as blood trickled from Marcus's split lip. Marcus wiped the blood with the back of his hand and settled into a fighting stance that Zara recognized from Earth's military training videos. It was called the Titan's Guard, developed by human marines for fighting multiple opponents in confined spaces. His feet spread shoulder-width apart, knees slightly bent, hands up but relaxed. "I'm just getting started," Marcus said, and something in his voice made even Karath pause. For the next 5 minutes, Marcus gave a demonstration in human stubbornness that would have made his instructors back on Earth proud. He took hits that should have dropped him, absorbed punishment that should have broken bones, and kept fighting with a determination that bordered on insanity. The alien cadets watching began to murmur among themselves, some with respect, others with growing unease. But determination could only carry him so far. Thrak's speed was finally beginning to tell, landing hits faster than Marcus could counter them. Eyeless was working in perfect coordination with the vegan, creating attack patterns that left Marcus with no good options. And Karath was using his natural advantages ruthlessly, forcing Marcus to defend against claws and teeth while managing the other 2 opponents. "He's magnificent," whispered Yassine, a Deltan cadet whose species prized courage above all else. "But he cannot win." Zara clenched her fists as she watched Marcus stagger under another combination attack. His left eye was swelling shut, his breathing was labored, and she could see him favoring his right leg. The other 3 were barely winded. "Stop the match," she called out to Instructor Valdris. "The match continues until surrender or incapacitation," the instructor replied, though her expression showed she was troubled by what she was witnessing. "Then, let me in there." "You are not scheduled for evaluation today, Cadet Chen. I'm requesting immediate challenge rights under Academy Regulation 47B. The hall fell silent again. Regulation 47B was an archaic rule that allowed any cadet to substitute themselves for another cadet if they believed the match was unfair. It hadn't been invoked in over 50 years, and most cadets didn't even know it existed. "That regulation requires approval from 3 instructors and I approve," said Instructor Kess, a massive Orion whose species valued honor in combat above all else. "As do I," added Instructor Vel, one of the few humans on the Academy staff. All eyes turned to Instructor Valdris. The Andromedan studied Zara for a long moment, her silver eyes unreadable. "You understand that this will count as your formal evaluation? You will face the same opponents, under the same conditions?" "I understand." "And you understand that your current skill assessment places you in the bottom 10% of your class?" "I understand." Valdris was quiet for another moment. In the combat circle, Marcus had just avoided another of Karatha's claw strikes, but barely. Blood was streaming from cuts on his arms and face, and he was moving slower with each exchange. "Approved," Valdris said finally. "Arbiter, implements substitution protocol." "Substitution acknowledged," the AI responded. "Match suspended. New participant, Chen, Zara." Marcus looked up in shock as the energy barrier flickered and the Arbiter announced the change. "Zara, no. You don't understand what you're doing." But she was already walking toward the combat circle, her small hands steady at her sides, her dark eyes fixed on the 3 aliens who had been systematically dismantling her fellow human. "Little girl," Karath said as she stepped through the barrier, "this is not a game." "No," Zara agreed, settling into a stance that looked nothing like any fighting style the aliens had seen before. "It's not." The other cadets pressed closer to the barrier, sensing that something unprecedented was about to happen. Some of the instructors were consulting their tablets, pulling up data on Earth's newest arrival. What they found made several of them exchange worried glances. Zara Chen had been selected for the academy not through normal testing procedures, but through something called the Crucible Protocol, a classified program that identified humans with certain rare characteristics. Her test scores were average, her physical assessments were below standard, and her psychological profile was marked with several concerning annotations. But there was one notation that made Instructor Vel reach for his communicator: subject demonstrates anomalous stress response patterns. Recommend further study. Arbiter, he said urgently, I need to review the safety parameters for this match. Match will resume in 30 seconds, the AI responded. All safety protocols remain standard. In the circle, Zara was facing 3 opponents who had just spent 5 minutes learning exactly how to fight humans. They knew Marcus's reach, his speed, his strength, and they assumed they knew hers as well. Last chance to surrender, little earthling, Thrak said, his forearms weaving hypnotically as he prepared to attack. I don't surrender, Zara said quietly. Ever. The Arbiter's chime rang out for the second time, and the fight resumed. Thrak attacked first, exactly as he had with Marcus, forearms blurring as he closed the distance in powerful bounds. But, this time, something went wrong. As his first strike descended toward where Zara should have been, she simply wasn't there. Not because she had dodged, there hadn't been time for that, but because she had somehow moved into the space between his attacks, inside his guard, where his speed advantage meant nothing. Her small fist drove upward with scientific precision, striking a nerve cluster just below Thrak's center arm joint. The vegan's entire right side went numb instantly, and he stumbled backward in shock. Impossible, someone in the crowd whispered. Eyeless attacked before Thrak had fully recovered, moving with the preternatural coordination of her hive mind species. But Zara moved like water, flowing around the attack and catching Eyeless's wrist in what looked like a gentle grip. The Centauri suddenly found herself flying through the air, landing hard against the energy barrier 10 feet away. Korath roared in fury and charged, claws extended and teeth bared. He had over 2 feet and 100 pounds on the small human female, and his species had evolved as apex predators. His attack should have ended the fight immediately. Instead, he found himself on his back, staring at the ceiling, with no memory of how he had gotten there. The hall was completely silent now. Even the instructors had stopped pretending to review their tablets and were staring at the combat circle in fascination and growing alarm. Zara stood in the center of the circle, breathing normally, without a mark on her. Around her, 3 of the Academy's most formidable first-year cadets were struggling to regain their feet, looking like they had been hit by a transport shuttle. How? Thrak gasped, shaking his head to clear it. How did you? I'll show you, Zara said, and there was something in her voice that made every being in the hall take a step backward. She moved toward Thrak with fluid grace, and this time, everyone could see what happened. She didn't fight like Marcus, with strength and determination and tactical brilliance. She didn't fight like the aliens, with natural weapons and evolved advantages. She fought like physics itself had decided to take sides. Every movement was perfect. Every strike landed exactly where it would do the most damage with the least effort. She seemed to know where her opponents would be before they knew themselves, moving through their attacks like she could see the future. But, more than that, she fought with a cold efficiency that was utterly inhuman. There was no anger, no fear, no mercy. She dismantled her opponents the way a technician might disassemble a malfunctioning machine, methodically, precisely, and without emotion. Within 2 minutes, it was over. Thrak, Eyeless, and Korath lay on the ground, conscious but unable to move, their nervous systems temporarily disrupted by strikes so precise they bordered on surgical. Zara stood over them, her breathing still normal, her expression unchanged. But her eyes, her dark, human eyes, held something that made even the instructors uncomfortable. Match concluded, the Arbiter announced belatedly. Winner, Chen, Zara. The energy barrier flickered and died, but none of the watching cadets moved to enter the circle. They stared at the small human girl who had just done something that should have been impossible, and wondered what exactly Earth had sent them. Instructor Valdris was the first to find her voice. Medical team to combat Circle 1. All participants report for immediate evaluation. As the medical team rushed past her to attend to the 3 aliens, Zara turned and walked toward the exit. She passed Marcus, who was staring at her with a mixture of gratitude and confusion, and the crowd of alien cadets who parted before her like she was carrying a plague. Cadet Chen, Instructor Valdris called out as Zara reached the exit. Zara paused and turned around. The hall was still silent, everyone waiting to see what would happen next.
Report to my office in 1 hour for debriefing.
Yes, ma'am, Zara said politely, and continued walking. As the doors closed behind her, the hall erupted in conversation. Cadets clustered together, speaking in urgent whispers, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. The instructors huddled around their tablets, pulling up every piece of data they could find about Earth's newest arrival. In the combat circle, the medical team was finishing their examination of the 3 defeated cadets. Their injuries were minimal, some bruising, temporary nerve disruption, and wounded pride. But the medics were troubled by something else, the precision of the attacks. Each strike had been placed with surgical accuracy, designed to incapacitate without causing permanent damage. It was the kind of precision that required either decades of training or something else entirely. Instructor Vel, one of the medics, called out, "I need to speak with you privately." As they spoke in low tones, Marcus finally moved from where he had been standing, still trying to process what had happened. He made his way to where Karath was sitting up slowly, rubbing his neck.
"Are you all right?" Marcus asked.
Karath looked up at him with something that might have been respect.
"Your female is not what she appears to be."
"She's not my female," Marcus said automatically.
"And, what do you mean?"
"I have fought many beings across many worlds," Karath said slowly.
"Predators, warriors, killers. But I have never fought anything that moved like that. She didn't fight us. She simply turned us off."
Marcus looked toward the exit where Zara had disappeared, his mind racing with questions. He had known her for only 2 weeks, but, in that time, she had seemed like any other academy cadet, dedicated, intelligent, but unremarkable in terms of physical ability. What he had just seen changed everything. In the medical bay, the 3 defeated cadets were cleared for return to duty, though they were advised to take the rest of the day for recovery. As they left, the lead medic made a notation in his report that would eventually reach the Academy's highest levels: recommend immediate review of Cadet Chen's admission protocols and background data.
Combat performance suggests undisclosed training or enhancement.
Potential security implications require investigation. But, by the time the report was filed, Zara Chen had already disappeared into the Academy's vast complex, carrying with her secrets that would soon shake the foundations of everything the galactic community thought they knew about humanity. In her quarters, she sat on the edge of her narrow bed and stared at her hands, small, seemingly delicate hands that had just dismantled 3 seasoned fighters without breaking a sweat. On her wrist, a small device that looked like a standard Academy chronometer flickered once, very briefly, before returning to normal. On Earth, in a facility hidden deep beneath the Rockies, an alarm chimed softly. A technician looked up from his console and frowned at the reading he was seeing. "Ma'am," he called to his supervisor, "we're getting an activation signal from Subject 7. The supervisor, a tall woman with gray hair and cold eyes, moved to look over his shoulder. "I thought 7 wasn't scheduled for activation for another 6 months.
"Yes, ma'am. But the signal is definitely active. Someone triggered her primary protocols."
The woman stared at the display for a long moment, her expression unreadable.
"Pull up the Academy's combat logs for today.
I want to know exactly what happened to make our little sleeper wake up." As data flowed across the screens, showing the complete sensor record of Zara's fight, the woman's expression slowly changed from concern to satisfaction. "Beautiful," she murmured.
"Absolutely beautiful. Begin Phase 2 protocols immediately." "Ma'am?"
"Phase 2 wasn't scheduled to begin until the schedule has changed," the woman said firmly.
"Our little demonstration was more successful than we hoped.
The galactic community needs to understand exactly what humanity is capable of when properly motivated." She turned and walked toward a secure communication station. "And I think it's time our young cadet learned the truth about herself."
Back at the Academy, Zara checked her chronometer and stood up. It was time for her meeting with Instructor Valdris.
As she walked through the corridors, she passed other cadets who stepped aside to let her pass, their expressions ranging from fear to curiosity to barely concealed hostility. She understood their reactions. What she had done in the combat circle was beyond normal human capability, and she knew it. What she didn't understand was how she had done it, or why her body had moved with a precision and knowledge that should have taken years to develop. But, as she approached the instructor's office, fragments of memory began to surface, images of training rooms she didn't remember entering, voices giving instructions she couldn't quite recall, and pain that came with learning to be something more than human. The door to Instructor Valdris's office opened before she could announce herself.
"Come in, Cadet Chen," the Andromedan said, her silver eyes studying Zara with new intensity.
"We have a great deal to discuss." As Zara entered the office, neither she nor the instructor noticed the small device on her wrist pulse once more, sending a signal across space to Earth, where plans set in motion years ago were finally beginning to unfold. The galactic community was about to learn that humanity had been preparing for this moment much longer than anyone suspected, and that the small, seemingly helpless girl who had just dismantled 3 trained fighters was only the beginning of what Earth had in store for the stars. Instructor Valdris's office overlooked the Academy's main courtyard, where alien cadets from 47 different species trained under the light of an artificial star. The room itself was sparse, decorated only with commendations from her decades of service and a collection of weapons from various worlds, each one a reminder of conflicts that had shaped the galaxy's current peace. "Sit down, Cadet Chen," Valdris said, gesturing to a chair across from her desk. Her silver eyes never left Zara's face as the small human settled into the seat with fluid grace that was becoming increasingly impossible to ignore.
"You wanted to see me, ma'am?"
"I want to understand what happened in that combat circle," Valdris said directly. "Your admission file indicates basic hand-to-hand combat training, standard physical conditioning, and average reaction times.
What I witnessed today suggests your file is either incomplete or deliberately falsified."
Zara's expression remained neutral, but something flickered behind her dark eyes, a moment of uncertainty that made Valdris lean forward slightly.
"I don't understand what you mean, ma'am."
"Let me be specific," Valdris said, pulling up a holographic display above her desk. The three-dimensional image showed the combat circle from multiple angles, with Zara's movements traced in glowing lines. At timestamp 14 hours 32 minutes and 7 seconds, Thrak initiated a 4-point attack pattern that should have been impossible to counter given your recorded reflexes. You not only countered it, you moved into an attack vector that our computers calculate had a probability of success of less than 0.3%. The hologram zoomed in on the moment when Zara had struck Thrak's nerve cluster. Frame by frame, it showed her hand moving with mechanical precision to a point that even experienced fighters would have difficulty locating in real-time combat. Furthermore, Valdris continued, the nerve strike you used on Thrak is not taught at this academy.
It's not taught anywhere in the galactic defense curriculum.
In fact, our xenobiology experts identify it as a technique from the Eltarian military, a species that went extinct 3,000 years ago. Zara stared at the hologram, her hands resting calmly in her lap.
"I don't know how I knew to do that." "You don't know?" "No, ma'am. I just moved. It felt right." Valdris studied the young human for a long moment.
In her 40 years as an instructor, she had seen countless cadets lie, evade, and fabricate explanations for their failures and successes.
Zara Chen was doing none of those things.
She seemed genuinely confused by her own capabilities. "Tell me about your training on Earth," Valdris said.
"Before the academy."
"Standard conditioning, basic combat techniques, tactical theory," Zara recited. "I trained at the Titan Base facility in Colorado for 6 months before selection."
"Titan Base," Valdris repeated, making a note on her tablet. "I'm not familiar with that facility. It's new."
"They said it was designed specifically for academy preparation."
Valdris's tablet chimed softly, indicating an incoming message. She glanced at it and frowned.
The message was from the Academy's Intelligence Division, request immediate medical scan of Cadet Chen. Priority Alpha Protocols.
"Cadet Chen, I'm going to ask you to submit to a full medical evaluation." "Is something wrong?" "That's what we're going to find out." The Academy's medical facility was located 3 levels below the main campus, carved into the asteroid's rock foundation.
Dr. Quiche, the head medical officer, was a healer, a species whose entire evolutionary development had been focused on understanding and repairing biological systems. Her 4 arms moved independently as she prepared the scanning equipment, each limb handling a different aspect of the examination. "Standard biological scan first," she explained to Zara, who lay still on the examination table. "This will map your bone structure, muscle density, nervous system, and basic metabolic functions." The scanner hummed to life, invisible energies probing every cell of Zara's body. Within minutes, Dr. Quiche was staring at the results with growing confusion. "Instructor Valdris," she called over the communication link, "you need to see this." Valdris arrived within minutes, finding Dr. Quiche hunched over multiple displays showing cross-sections of Zara's anatomy.
"What did you find?"
Something that shouldn't exist, Dr. Quiche said, manipulating the holographic image to highlight Zara's nervous system.
Look at the neural pathway density in her motor cortex. It's approximately 400% higher than baseline human normal. What does that mean?
It means her brain has been modified to process and execute physical movements with superhuman precision. But that's not the strange part. Dr. Quiche highlighted another section of the scan.
Look at her muscle fiber composition.
The image showed muscle tissue that was distinctly human, but with microscopic filaments woven through the natural fibers, filaments that gleamed with a metallic sheen under the scanner's analysis. Those filaments are not biological, Dr. Quiche continued. They appear to be some kind of synthetic material integrated directly into her muscle structure. They would provide enhanced strength, speed, and, most importantly, perfect muscle memory.
Perfect muscle memory?
Her body could theoretically perform any physical technique it had ever seen or been taught, with flawless execution, regardless of how complex or how long ago she learned it. Valdres stared at the scans, her mind racing through the implications.
This level of enhancement would require technology beyond anything in our current medical database.
And the integration is so complete that it would have to have been done during early childhood development. There's more, Dr. Quiche said grimly.
She pulled up another scan, this one focused on Zara's brainstem.
She has what appears to be a biomechanical implant at the base of her skull.
It's dormant currently, but it's definitely artificial. What kind of implant? I've never seen anything like it. The technology is completely unknown to me.
On the examination table, Zara lay perfectly still, her eyes closed, breathing steady. But, on her wrist, the device that looked like a chronometer was pulsing with increasing frequency.
Dr.
Quiche, Valdres said slowly, I want you to run a deep scan on that chronometer she's wearing.
The scanner's focus shifted to Zara's wrist. Within seconds, both women were staring at readings that made no sense.
It's not a chronometer, Dr. Quiche said.
It's some kind of sophisticated communication and monitoring device. And it's been transmitting data continuously since she arrived at the academy. Transmitting to where? I can't tell. The signal is using encryption that our systems can't decode. Valdres reached for her communicator. Security, this is Instructor Valdres. I need an immediate containment team to Medical Level 3.
We have a potential security breach. But, before she could finish speaking, Zara's eyes snapped open. She sat up on the examination table with fluid grace, no longer looking like a confused cadet but like something far more dangerous. That won't be necessary, she said, and her voice carried an authority that hadn't been there before.
My handlers have been monitoring this conversation. Your handlers? Earth Intelligence Division. Black Projects Department. Zara stood up from the table, and both Dr. Quiche and Instructor Valdres found themselves taking an involuntary step backward.
I apologize for the deception, but it was necessary.
You're a spy? I'm a weapon, Zara said matter-of-factly. One of 12 humans who underwent the Prometheus enhancement program. We were designed to be the next step in human evolution, created specifically for integration into galactic society.
Valdres's hand moved toward her sidearm, but Zara shook her head.
I'm not here to hurt anyone. I'm here to send a message. What message?
That humanity is not as helpless as the galactic community believes. The medical bay's doors opened, and Commander Thane entered with a full security team. The Ulterian commander was one of the few beings at the Academy who had actually fought in the border wars, and his battle instincts had kept him alive through conflicts that claimed millions of lives. Step away from the examination table, he ordered, his weapon drawn but not aimed directly at Zara. Commander Thane, Zara said, and something in her tone made the veteran warrior pause.
I know about your service record.
3rd Fleet, Kepler Offensive. You held the line at Proxima Station for 72 hours against impossible odds. How do you? Because Earth has been studying galactic military history for decades, preparing for the day when we would need to prove ourselves worthy of membership in this community. She gestured toward the scans still floating above the medical displays. What you're looking at is the result of 30 years of research and development.
Research into what? Making humans capable of fighting on equal terms with any species in the galaxy.
Commander Thane studied her carefully. His species had evolved as predators, and his instincts were screaming that the small human in front of him was more dangerous than anything he had ever encountered.
Yet she made no threatening moves, showed no hostile intent. If you're a weapon, why reveal yourself? Because the demonstration is complete, Zara said.
Every major power in the galaxy has intelligence assets at this academy. What happened in that combat circle today has already been transmitted to governments across known space.
They've seen what enhanced humans are capable of. And what happens now? Now they understand that when Earth applies for full membership in the Galactic Council, we're not asking as supplicants.
We're negotiating as equals. The small communication device on her wrist chimed softly.
Zara glanced at it and nodded. My extraction team is en route.
They'll be here within the hour.
You're leaving? My mission here is complete.
But Marcus Webb will remain, as will the other human cadets.
They represent what humanity can achieve through determination and training alone.
I represent what we can achieve when we choose to exceed our natural limitations. Instructor Valdris had been silent throughout this exchange, her analytical mind processing everything she had witnessed. The precision with which you fought, that wasn't just enhancement. That was knowledge of alien anatomy and fighting techniques that no human should possess.
We've been studying you for decades, Zara confirmed.
Every species in the academy, every fighting technique, every biological weakness and strength. The Prometheus subjects have access to the most comprehensive xenological database ever compiled.
How many others are there like you? 12 initial subjects. 7 survived the enhancement process. Of those, 3 are currently active in various galactic institutions. The others are in reserve, waiting for deployment if needed.
Commander Thane's weapon hadn't wavered, but his expression was thoughtful.
This is an act of war. Infiltrating the academy under false pretenses, gathering intelligence, this is diplomacy, Zara corrected.
Earth could have announced our capabilities through military demonstrations. Instead, we chose to reveal them in an educational setting, in a situation where no one was permanently harmed and the demonstration served to protect a fellow human from an unfair situation. The truth of that statement hit everyone in the room simultaneously. The fight hadn't been random, it had been orchestrated. Someone had manipulated the Arbiter's selection process to create the exact scenario needed to justify Zara's intervention. The Academy's AI, Valdris said slowly. Someone compromised the Arbiter.
Earth's cybernetic capabilities are more advanced than the galaxy realizes, Zara admitted. But no permanent damage was done. The AI will function normally once my extraction is complete.
Dr. Quiche, who had been studying the enhancement scans, looked up from her displays.
The level of integration you're showing, it would require maintenance, regular medical monitoring. How? The chronometer isn't just a communication device, Zara explained.
It monitors my biological systems and makes real-time adjustments to the enhancement matrix.
Earth's medical technology has advanced considerably in recent years.
Where?
Commander Thane demanded. Where did this technology come from? For the first time since revealing herself, Zara hesitated. Her dark eyes showed uncertainty, as if she was debating how much truth to reveal.
That's classified at levels above my access, she said finally. But I can tell you that humanity didn't develop this technology in isolation.
Before anyone could ask for clarification, the Academy's general alarm began sounding. A voice echoed through the corridors, all personnel to emergency stations. Unidentified vessels approaching the Academy perimeter. Zara smiled, and, for a moment she looked like the young cadet she had pretended to be. My ride is here. Commander Thane's communicator crackled to life. Commander, this is flight control. We have 3 ships on approach vector. Configuration unknown, but they're transmitting Earth diplomatic clearance codes.
Earthships shouldn't be capable of reaching this sector, Thane muttered, but he was already moving toward the door.
All personnel remain in medical. I want this facility secured.
As the security team filed out, leaving only Valdris and Dr. Quiche with Zara, the young enhanced human turned toward the wall screen that showed the Academy's external cameras. 3 sleek vessels were approaching the Academy, their design unlike anything in current galactic databases. They moved with a grace that suggested technology far beyond what Earth was supposed to possess, their hulls gleaming with what appeared to be adaptive armor plating.
Beautiful, aren't they? Zara said. the Prometheus-class stealth frigates. Another little surprise humanity has been working on. How long? Valdris asked quietly. How long has Earth been preparing for this? Since first contact, Zara replied. From the moment we learned we weren't alone in the universe, Earth's governments began planning for the day when we would need to prove ourselves worthy of a seat at the galactic table. And if you had failed? If your demonstration hadn't been successful? There were contingency plans, Zara said, but her tone suggested those plans would have been far less pleasant for everyone involved. The ships had reached the Academy's docking bay, and Zara could see suited figures moving through the connection tubes. Her extraction team, coming to collect their asset and return her to Earth for debriefing and whatever came next. Instructor Valdris, she said formally, I want you to know that my respect for this academy and its mission was not fabricated. The education provided here is truly exceptional. But it wasn't enough for humanity's purposes. It wasn't enough for humanity's survival, Zara corrected. The galaxy is not a peaceful place, despite current appearances. Earth needed to ensure that when conflicts arise, and they will arise, we would not be seen as weak links to be exploited or protected. Dr. Quiche was still studying the enhancement scans. The medical implications of what you represent if this technology could be adapted for healing, for treating genetic disorders. That's part of what we hope to negotiate, Zara said. Earth's advances in human enhancement could benefit many species. But, first, we need to establish our position as equals rather than subjects. The medical bay doors opened again, and 2 figures in advanced environment suits entered. Their faces were obscured behind helmets, but they moved with the same fluid precision that Zara had demonstrated in combat. Prometheus 7, one of them said, extraction is authorized. Acknowledged, Control, Zara replied. She turned back to Valdris and Dr. Quiche. Thank you for your professionalism during this situation. Your reports will be forwarded to the appropriate diplomatic channels. What about Marcus? Valdris asked. And the other human cadets? They stay. They represent humanity's best and brightest, achieved through natural talent and determination. Their presence here is not deceptive, it's inspirational. As Zara moved toward the door, Dr. Quiche called out, the enhancements you carry, are they permanent? Zara paused, her hand resting on the doorframe. That's an interesting question, Doctor. We don't know. The Prometheus program was designed to be irreversible, but recent developments suggest that might not be the case. Recent developments? Ask Earth's diplomatic corps when they arrive for the council negotiations, Zara said with a smile. I have a feeling there are going to be many more surprises in the coming months. She left with her extraction team, moving through corridors filled with alien cadets who pressed against the walls to let them pass. Everyone could sense that they were witnessing something historic, though few understood exactly what. In the docking bay, Zara paused at the airlock leading to the Earthships. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see the Academy's main campus, where she had spent 2 weeks learning to be human again after years of being something more. Problems, 7, her handler asked. No, she said quietly. Just saying goodbye. As the Prometheus-class frigates departed from the Academy, carrying with them Earth's first revealed enhanced agent, emergency sessions were being called in government chambers across the galaxy. The small demonstration in a training facility had triggered a cascade of political and military responses that would reshape interstellar relations for decades to come. On Earth, in the hidden facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, technicians monitored the extraction with satisfaction. Phase 2 of the Prometheus revelation had been even more successful than projected. Begin Phase 3 protocols, the gray-haired woman ordered. It's time for the galaxy to meet the rest of our enhanced assets. At the Academy, Marcus Webb sat in his quarters, staring at his hands and wondering what other secrets humanity had been hiding. Down the hall, alien cadets clustered together, speaking in urgent whispers about the small human girl who had changed everything they thought they knew about Earth's capabilities. And, in her office, Instructor Valdris composed a report that she knew would reach the highest levels of galactic government within hours. As she wrote, she couldn't shake the feeling that what she had witnessed was not an ending, but a beginning, the first move in a game that would determine humanity's place in the cosmos. The enhanced girl had said Earth was ready to negotiate as equals. Based on what Valdris had seen, she suspected the galaxy was about to discover that humanity had been preparing for this negotiation much longer than anyone had imagined. The small chronometer device lay on Dr. Quiche's examination table, left behind either accidentally or deliberately.
It had gone completely dark the moment Zara left the academy, but, deep within its circuitry, encrypted data files waited for the right person to discover them, files that would reveal just how deep Earth's preparations truly went. The demonstration was over, but the real show was just beginning. 3 weeks after Zara Chen's extraction from the Galactic Defense Academy, the ripple effects of her demonstration were still spreading across known space. Emergency sessions had been called in 14 different star systems, intelligence agencies were working overtime to assess Earth's true capabilities, and the Academy itself had become the focus of unprecedented scrutiny. Marcus Webb found himself at the center of it all, no longer just another human cadet but a symbol of what unenhanced humanity could achieve. Every alien at the Academy watched him differently now, some with newfound respect, others with suspicion, and a few with barely concealed fear. "They think you're like her," Yassine said as they walked toward the advanced combat training facility. The Deltan's crystalline skin shimmered with nervous energy, a biological reaction his species couldn't control when under stress. "They think all humans are secretly enhanced." "I'm not enhanced," Marcus replied, though he'd submitted to 3 different medical scans in the past week to prove it. "I'm exactly what my file says I am." "But, you knew, didn't you? You knew she was different." Marcus considered the question as they entered the training facility. The truth was, he had sensed something unusual about Zara from the beginning, but he'd attributed it to the natural wariness that came from growing up on Earth's frontier colonies. Now he wondered how much of what he'd observed had been deliberate misdirection. "I knew she was holding back," he said finally. "But I thought everyone holds back until they trust their surroundings." The training facility was nearly empty, which was unusual for this time of day. Word had spread that Marcus was going to be evaluated by Master Keth, one of the Academy's most elite instructors, and most cadets preferred to avoid being anywhere near that kind of attention. Master Keth was a progenitor, member of one of the galaxy's oldest spacefaring species. His people had been exploring the stars when most other races were still discovering fire, and their accumulated knowledge of combat techniques was legendary. He stood 7 feet tall, with 4 arms and skin that seemed to absorb light, making him appear as a shadow with burning golden eyes. "Cadet Webb," Master Keth said, his voice carrying harmonics that made the air itself vibrate. "You have become quite famous." "I didn't ask for fame, Master Keth." "No, but you have it nonetheless. The question now is what you will do with it." The ancient being circled Marcus slowly, studying him with eyes that had seen millennia of conflict. "Your enhanced companion's demonstration has raised questions about humanity's true capabilities. Some believe her abilities represent all humans. Others suspect she was an anomaly. I intend to find out which is correct." "I've already been tested by machines and scanners," Master Keth interrupted. "I will test your spirit. Your determination. Your ability to exceed your perceived limitations when survival depends on it." The training chamber sealed itself, environmental controls shifting to simulate the crushing gravity of a high-mass world. Marcus immediately felt the difference, his bones protesting under load that was nearly 3 times Earth normal. Around him, holographic projectors activated, creating a simulation environment that perfectly mimicked a battlefield on some distant world. "Scenario 7, Master Keth announced. Urban combat, multiple hostiles, limited ammunition, civilian casualties possible. Your mission is to neutralize all threats while protecting non-combatant targets." The simulation materialized around them. Marcus found himself in the ruins of what had once been a major city, buildings reduced to skeletal frameworks by orbital bombardment. Through the smoke and debris, he could see movement enemy soldiers taking positions while civilian refugees huddled in whatever shelter they could find. "Begin," Master Keth said, and suddenly, the training chamber was filled with the sounds of war. Energy bolts streaked past Marcus's head as he dove for cover behind a collapsed wall. His training rifle, set to simulation mode but still capable of delivering painful feedback for hits, felt heavier than usual in the crushing gravity. Everything was more difficult here, every movement requiring extra effort, every decision coming with higher stakes. But, as the simulation progressed, something interesting began to happen. Marcus found himself moving with increasing confidence, making tactical decisions that seemed to flow naturally from instinct rather than conscious thought. When 3 enemy soldiers tried to flank him through a destroyed building, he anticipated their movement and was waiting for them. When civilians needed to be evacuated from a kill zone, he found routes through the rubble that shouldn't have been visible to someone who had never been in this environment before. "Interesting," Master Keth murmured to himself, watching from outside the simulation field.
The scenario intensified.
Enemy reinforcements arrived, armed with heavy weapons that turned Marcus's cover to dust.
Civilian casualties mounted as the enemy forces showed no regard for non-combatant lives.
The mission parameters shifted from tactical engagement to desperate last stand. This was where most cadets broke. The combination of physical stress, impossible odds, and moral pressure to protect the innocent pushed even experienced soldiers beyond their limits.
But Marcus didn't break. Instead, he adapted.
He began moving differently, using the environment in ways that the simulation's creators hadn't intended. He turned debris into weapons, used the enemy's own tactics against them, and found solutions to problems that had no obvious answers. Most remarkably, he did it all while keeping track of every civilian in the area, ensuring that his actions never put innocent lives at additional risk. When the simulation finally ended, 23 enemy soldiers had been neutralized and 15 civilians had been successfully evacuated to safety. Marcus had taken 6 hits that would have been wounds in real combat, but he was still standing, still fighting, still protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Remarkable, Master Keth said as the holographic battlefield faded away. Your tactical scores exceed those of cadets with twice your training time. Your situational awareness rivals that of species with enhanced sensory capabilities. Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead, his body still adjusting to the return of normal gravity.
I don't understand what happened in there.
It felt like I knew things I'd never learned. That, Master Keth said, is what I was hoping to see. Before Marcus could ask for clarification, the training facility's communication system activated.
All personnel report to the main assembly hall immediately. Priority Alpha announcement from Academy Command.
As they made their way to the assembly hall, Marcus noticed that the alien cadets were giving him even more space than usual. Word of his performance in Master Keth's simulation had spread quickly, and the combination of his association with Zara and his own demonstrated capabilities was making everyone nervous. The assembly hall was packed with cadets, instructors, and administrative staff from across the academy. Commander Thane stood at the podium, his expression grim. Behind him, a massive holographic display showed the insignia of the Galactic Council's highest authority. I have received direct communication from the Council chambers on Nexus Prime, Commander Thane announced, his voice carrying clearly through the hall's acoustics. The recent events at this academy have triggered emergency protocols at the highest levels of galactic government. The display behind him shifted to show a star map with dozens of systems highlighted in red. Intelligence reports indicate that enhanced human assets have been identified in 17 different sectors. The individual known as Prometheus 7 was not unique, she was part of a coordinated deployment that has been active for at least 5 years. Murmurs spread through the assembly as the implications became clear. Earth hadn't just sent one enhanced agent to the academy, they had been systematically placing enhanced humans throughout galactic institutions for years. Furthermore, Commander Thane continued, analysis of communication intercepts suggests that Earth's technological capabilities have been deliberately understated. The ships that extracted Prometheus 7 utilized propulsion and defensive systems that exceed current galactic standards. The star map zoomed in on the Sol system, showing Earth surrounded by defensive installations that appear to have been constructed in complete secrecy. Long-range reconnaissance has detected military installations throughout Earth's solar system using technology that our scientists cannot immediately identify. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. He had grown up believing that humanity was struggling to catch up with the rest of the galaxy, that Earth was still learning to compete with species that had been spacefaring for millennia. The revelation that his homeworld had secretly achieved technological parity or superiority was staggering. The Council has demanded immediate explanations from Earth's government, Commander Thane said. In response, Earth has requested formal diplomatic negotiations for full Council membership, claiming that their previous application understated their qualifications due to security concerns. The holographic display shifted again, showing what appeared to be a massive space station under construction in Earth's outer solar system. The design was unlike anything in the galactic databases, incorporating technologies that seemed to blend multiple engineering philosophies into something entirely new. This facility, designated as Prometheus Station by Earth Intelligence, appears to be a military research and development center capable of producing enhanced humans and advanced military hardware on an industrial scale. The hall fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. Earth hadn't just been preparing for galactic membership, they had been preparing for galactic warfare. All human cadets are to report for extended debriefing immediately following this assembly, Commander Thane announced. All alien cadets are advised that previous assessments of human capabilities may have been compromised and should be recalibrated accordingly. As the assembly broke up, Marcus found himself surrounded by instructors and senior cadets demanding answers he didn't have. He pushed through the crowd, making his way toward the exit, when a hand grabbed his arm.
Marcus!
It was Karath, the Saurian who had been part of the group that had tried to humiliate him in the combat circle.
We need to talk.
They found a quiet corner in one of the Academy's observation lounges, looking out at the stars through armored transparent aluminum windows.
Karatha's reptilian features were difficult to read, but his body language suggested uncertainty rather than hostility.
I have fought beside humans in border skirmishes, Karath said slowly.
I thought I understood your capabilities.
But, watching your female fight, and now seeing what your government has been hiding,
I am beginning to think I have never understood humans at all.
I don't understand us either, Marcus admitted.
Everything I thought I knew about Earth's place in the galaxy appears to have been wrong.
Your species fascinates me, Karath continued. Most races develop their technologies gradually, building on foundations laid by previous generations.
But humans seem to make quantum leaps, developing solutions that bypass traditional limitations entirely. What do you mean? The enhanced female, Prometheus 7.
Her capabilities weren't just improvements on human baseline.
They represented a completely different approach to biological enhancement.
Your ships don't just improve on existing propulsion systems, they appear to use entirely different principles of physics. Marcus stared out at the stars, wondering how many secrets Earth was still hiding among them.
Do you think we're a threat? To the galaxy, I mean?
Karath was quiet for a long moment.
I think humans are unpredictable. In my experience, unpredictable species are either very dangerous or very valuable allies. Sometimes both.
Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Instructor Valdris, who looked like she hadn't slept in days. Cadet Webb, you're needed in Conference Room 7 immediately.
More debriefing?
Something else, she said grimly.
We've received a transmission from Earth. They want to speak with you directly.
Conference Room 7 was one of the Academy's secure communication facilities, designed for classified conversations with military commands across the galaxy. Marcus entered to find not just Academy staff, but officials from 3 different Council intelligence agencies. The holographic projector activated, showing the face of a middle-aged woman with graying hair and intelligent eyes. She wore the uniform of Earth's Space Force, with insignia that Marcus didn't recognize.
Cadet Webb, she said, I'm Admiral Sarah Chen, director of the Prometheus program. Yes, I'm related to Agent 7, she's my daughter.
The revelation hit Marcus like a physical blow. The enhanced girl who had saved him from humiliation and possible injury was the daughter of one of Earth's most senior military officials.
I'm calling because Earth's government has decided that full disclosure is necessary if we're going to successfully negotiate our entry into the Galactic Council.
That includes being honest with our own people about what we've been doing.
What you've been doing?
Preparing for a war that we hoped would never come, Admiral Chen said bluntly. First contact with galactic civilization revealed that the universe is not a peaceful place. While Earth was presenting itself as a developing world seeking guidance and protection, our military and scientific communities were working to ensure we would never be in a position where we needed protection we couldn't provide ourselves. The display shifted to show technical specifications that made Marcus's head spin. Advanced materials, exotic propulsion systems, biological enhancement technologies that seemed to blend science and engineering in ways he'd never imagined. The Prometheus program was created to develop humans capable of operating in any environment the galaxy could present. Enhanced strength, speed, reflexes, and intelligence, combined with perfect muscle memory and access to comprehensive databases of alien biology and technology.
How many enhanced humans are there? Currently active? 47 across 17 different sectors. In training or development? Over 2,000.
Marcus felt like the ground was shifting beneath his feet. Earth wasn't just hiding a few enhanced agents, they had been conducting an enhancement program on a massive scale.
But, here's what I need you to understand, Cadet Webb, Admiral Chen continued. Enhanced humans like my daughter represent what humanity can become when we choose to exceed our limitations. But, they're not what humanity is.
You, and cadets like you, represent humanity's natural potential.
And, in many ways, that's more impressive than anything we've achieved through enhancement. I don't understand.
My daughter's performance in that combat circle was programmed. Her knowledge was downloaded, her reflexes were optimized, her techniques were pre-calculated by our best tactical computers.
She fought like a machine pretending to be human. The Admiral's expression softened slightly. But, your performance in Master Keth's simulation was purely human. Instinct, adaptation, creative problem-solving under pressure, these are things that can't be programmed or downloaded. They come from something deeper than enhancement can touch. Why are you telling me this?
Because Earth is about to enter negotiations that will determine our species' future in galactic society. We need representatives who can speak for humanity as we actually are, not as we've enhanced ourselves to be. We need people who can demonstrate that our natural capabilities are worthy of respect and partnership.
The implications were staggering.
Earth wasn't just revealing their enhanced agents, they were proposing Marcus as some kind of ambassador for unenhanced humanity.
The Academy has agreed to accelerate your training program, Admiral Chen said.
You'll graduate early and be assigned to Earth's diplomatic mission to the Council chambers.
Your role will be to show that enhanced humans are just one aspect of what our species brings to the galactic community. I'm just a cadet.
You're a human being who has earned the respect of some of the galaxy's most elite warriors through nothing more than determination, intelligence, and courage.
That's exactly what we need.
The transmission ended, leaving Marcus alone with his thoughts and a room full of officials who were studying him like he was some kind of fascinating specimen. Through the conference room's windows, he could see the Academy's training facilities where alien cadets from dozens of species were learning to become the galaxy's next generation of defenders. Soon, he would be leaving this place to represent his species on the largest political stage in known space. The question was whether humanity, enhanced or otherwise, was ready for the responsibilities that came with being equals rather than pupils in galactic society. In her quarters, Instructor Valdris was composing another report, this one for her own government's intelligence services. As an Andromedan, she had spent decades studying human behavior, but recent events had revealed layers of complexity that challenged everything she thought she understood about Earth's newest species. The enhanced human had been impressive but predictable, a weapon designed for specific purposes. But Marcus Webb represented something more interesting, the potential for natural growth and adaptation that made humans unlike any other species she had encountered. As she wrote her analysis, she wondered if the galaxy was prepared for what humanity might become when they stopped hiding their true capabilities. The enhanced agents were formidable, but they were static, perfect for their intended purposes but limited by their programming. Natural humans like Marcus Webb were unpredictable, capable of growth and change in ways that couldn't be anticipated or controlled. In her experience, unpredictable forces were often the ones that reshaped entire civilizations. The Academy's quiet evening routine continued around her, but everyone knew that things would never be quite the same. Earth had announced its presence as a major power, and the galaxy would have to adjust to having a species among them that combined technological sophistication with the kind of adaptability that had carried humans from a single world to the edges of known space in just a few centuries. The demonstration was complete, but the real test was just beginning. 6 months later, Marcus Webb stood in the observation deck of the diplomatic vessel Endeavour, watching as the massive structure of Nexus Prime grew larger in the viewscreen. The Galactic Council's capital station was a testament to cooperative engineering, built over millennia by dozens of species working together. Its rotating sections housed representatives from every major civilization in known space, and soon it would host the most important diplomatic negotiation in human history. The journey from the Academy to this moment had transformed Marcus in ways he was still discovering. Earth's accelerated training program had pushed him beyond anything he'd thought possible, but, more importantly, it had opened his eyes to the true scope of humanity's preparations for galactic membership.
"Impressive, isn't it?" said Ambassador Elena Vasquez, joining him at the observation window. She was Earth's chief diplomatic representative, a woman whose calm demeanor hid decades of experience in interstellar relations. 57 different architectural styles, each representing a different species' approach to space construction. It's beautiful and completely chaotic at the same time.
Kind of like this negotiation is going to be, Marcus observed.
Exactly like this negotiation is going to be.
She handed him a datapad containing the latest intelligence reports.
The enhanced human revelations have split the Council into 3 factions. 1/3 wants to immediately grant Earth full membership based on demonstrated capabilities. 1/3 wants to reject us entirely as a security risk.
The final third is waiting to see what we bring to the table besides military technology. Marcus scrolled through the reports, noting the various species' positions. The Andromedans supported Earth's membership but wanted restrictions on enhancement technology. The Saurians were impressed by human military capabilities but concerned about expansion into their territory. The Deltans admired human courage but questioned their motives. Where do we stand with the progenitors?
Marcus asked.
Master Keth has submitted a formal evaluation of human potential that's been classified at the highest levels, Ambassador Vasquez replied.
Whatever he wrote, it's gotten the Council's attention. The Endeavour docked at Nexus Prime with barely a vibration, its Earth-built gravitic stabilizers compensating perfectly for the station's rotation. As they disembarked, Marcus was struck by the sheer diversity of life forms moving through the station's corridors. He had grown accustomed to alien species at the Academy, but Nexus Prime hosted beings from every corner of the galaxy. Try not to stare, Ambassador Vasquez murmured as they passed a group of crystalline entities whose bodies chimed softly with each movement. Some species considered direct observation rude.
Their destination was Council Chamber Prime, the massive amphitheater where the galaxy's most important decisions were made. As they entered, Marcus felt the weight of history pressing down on him. This was where wars had been declared and peace treaties signed, where new species were welcomed into galactic society and old grievances were settled.
The human delegation was smaller than those of other species, reflecting Earth's relative newcomer status.
But Marcus noticed that representatives from other worlds watched them with unusual intensity, clearly aware that this session would be unlike any in recent memory. The Council recognizes the delegation from Earth, announced Prime Coordinator Zelith, an ancient being whose species had been mediating galactic disputes since before most other civilizations had achieved spaceflight.
Ambassador Vasquez, you may present your case for full Council membership. Ambassador Vasquez rose gracefully, her presence commanding attention throughout the vast chamber.
Honored representatives, Earth comes before you not as supplicants seeking protection, but as partners offering contribution to our shared galactic community. The presentation began with displays of Earth's technological achievements, not the military hardware that had caused such concern, but the innovations that could benefit all species.
Medical treatments developed from human enhancement research that could extend lifespans across the galaxy.
Agricultural techniques that could feed populations on worlds previously considered barely habitable. Energy systems that could power civilizations while leaving minimal environmental impact. But technology, Ambassador Vasquez continued, is not humanity's greatest contribution to galactic society. Our greatest contribution is something that cannot be manufactured or downloaded. It is the human spirit of adaptation and perseverance that has carried our species from a single world to the edges of known space in just 3 centuries. She gestured toward Marcus. I present Marcus Webb, a representative of unenhanced humanity who has achieved distinction through nothing more than determination, intelligence, and courage. He embodies what humans can accomplish through natural development rather than technological augmentation. Marcus stood, feeling the attention of hundreds of beings focused on him. For a moment, he was just a kid from the outer colonies again, overwhelmed by the scope of what he was being asked to do. Honored representatives, he began, his voice steadying as he spoke. 6 months ago, I thought I understood humanity's place in the galaxy. I believed we were students, learning from older and wiser civilizations how to become worthy of membership in galactic society. The chamber was completely silent now, every representative listening intently.
I was wrong.
Humanity has been preparing for this moment for generations, developing capabilities that many of you find concerning. But I want you to understand why we prepared in secret, and what we hope to accomplish now that our capabilities are known. Marcus activated his own holographic display, showing images from Earth's history, wars, disasters, triumphs, and defeats that had shaped human civilization. My species learned long ago that survival requires preparation for the unexpected. When we discovered we were not alone in the universe, our first instinct was not to seek protection, but to ensure we would never need it. The images shifted to show human colonies on worlds that other species had deemed uninhabitable, research stations in environments that would kill most galactic species in minutes, and cities built in places where conventional wisdom said civilization couldn't exist. We enhanced some of our people because we needed to understand what we were capable of becoming. We developed advanced technology because we needed to know we could defend ourselves if necessary. We studied your species, your histories, your capabilities because we needed to understand how to work with you as equals rather than dependents.
Representative Karath, the Saurian diplomat who Marcus recognized as being related to his academy classmate, leaned forward in his seat. What assurance can you give that Earth's military capabilities will not be used against Council members?
The same assurance that every species in this chamber gives, Marcus replied. Our word, backed by our actions and our commitment to mutual prosperity. But, your species has demonstrated deception on a massive scale, challenged Representative Ilis of the Centauri Collective. How can we trust beings who have hidden their true nature for years? Marcus felt a flash of anger, but controlled it. This was exactly the kind of challenge Earth's diplomats had expected. Representative Ilis, every species in this chamber achieved council membership only after demonstrating that they could contribute to galactic society while maintaining their own security. Earth has simply done so more quickly than most. He gestured toward the broader chamber. The Andromedans developed their telepathic networks in secret before revealing them to the galaxy. The Saurians built their first interstellar fleet without council oversight. The progenitors maintained technological advantages for millennia before sharing them with younger species. Earth's deception was necessary because we needed to understand galactic society before revealing our full capabilities. Now that we understand your fears and your expectations, we're ready to be honest about what we bring to the partnership. Prime Coordinator Zelith raised one ancient hand. The Council acknowledges Earth's position. However, concerns remain about the stability of enhancement technology and its potential for misuse. Ambassador Vasquez activated another display showing medical and technical specifications that made several representatives lean forward in interest. Earth proposes the establishment of a joint research initiative, sharing enhancement technology with Council medical communities for therapeutic applications. Military applications would remain restricted, but the healing potential could benefit every species represented here. Furthermore, Marcus added, Earth commits to a gradual revelation program, sharing our technological advances over a structured timeline that allows the galactic community to adapt without destabilization. Representative Keth, the progenitor master who had evaluated Marcus at the academy, finally spoke. His voice carried the weight of millennia, and, when he spoke, the entire chamber listened. I have observed humans for an extended period, he said slowly. Both enhanced and natural specimens. What I have discovered is that enhancement does not create human capabilities, it merely amplifies them. He gestured toward Marcus. This individual demonstrated tactical brilliance, adaptive thinking, and moral courage that exceeded the performance of species with thousands of years of military tradition. His achievements were not programmed or downloaded, they emerged from something inherent in human nature. The enhanced human I observed possessed superior physical capabilities, but she fought like a machine pretending to be human. This one fights like a human transcending his limitations through will and intelligence. The Master's golden eyes swept across the chamber. The progenitor delegation supports full council membership for Earth, with the understanding that humanity brings both technological advancement and natural adaptability that will strengthen our shared civilization. The announcement sent ripples through the chamber. Progenitor support carried enormous weight in council decisions, and their endorsement shifted the entire dynamic of the negotiation. Over the following days, the detailed negotiations proceeded with increasing momentum. Earth's technological offerings were evaluated and integrated into council databases. Protocols were established for the gradual revelation of human capabilities. Security concerns were addressed through mutual oversight agreements. But the real breakthrough came when Marcus was invited to address the Academy Graduates Assembly, a gathering of beings from across the galaxy who had trained at institutions like the Galactic Defense Academy. These were the people who would implement whatever policies the Council established, and their support was crucial for Earth's long-term integration into galactic society. I want to tell you about a day 6 months ago, Marcus began, addressing an audience that included many of his former classmates. A day when I thought my career at the Academy might end because 3 skilled fighters had decided to put humanity in its place. He described the combat evaluation, the overwhelming odds, and his growing certainty that the match had been designed to humiliate rather than test. Then, he described Zara's intervention. I watched her defeat 3 trained fighters with techniques I had never seen, using knowledge that no human should have possessed. For a moment, I thought I was seeing the future of my species, enhanced, improved, perfect. The audience was completely silent, remembering their own reactions to that demonstration. But I was wrong again. What I was seeing was not the future of humanity, it was one possible path among many. Zara Chen was impressive, but she was limited by her programming. She could execute any technique perfectly, but she couldn't create new techniques. She could adapt to any situation she had been trained for, but truly unexpected challenges would have been beyond her capabilities. Marcus smiled, remembering his conversation with Admiral Chen.
Enhanced humans represent what we can become when we choose to exceed our limitations through technology. But natural humans represent something equally important, what we can become when we choose to exceed our limitations through growth. The galaxy doesn't need perfect soldiers or programmed diplomats.
It needs beings capable of facing the unknown with courage, imagination, and the ability to find solutions that no computer could calculate. That's what humanity offers to galactic society, not just our technology, but our commitment to pushing beyond what others believe is possible. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Representatives from dozens of species rose to offer support for Earth's membership application. Academy graduates who had trained alongside humans shared their own observations of human adaptability and determination. The final vote was not even close. Earth was granted full council membership with only minor restrictions on technology sharing timelines. More importantly, humanity was invited to participate in joint exploration missions, scientific research initiatives, and diplomatic missions that would establish them as full partners in galactic civilization. As Marcus stood in the observation deck of the Endeavour for the return journey to Earth, he reflected on how much had changed since that day in the Academy's combat circle. Humanity had revealed its true capabilities and been accepted not as students or threats, but as equals.
Proud of your species? Ambassador Vasquez asked, joining him at the window.
Proud of what we've accomplished, Marcus replied. But more excited about what we're going to accomplish. Below them, Nexus Prime rotated slowly against the starfield, its lights representing billions of beings from across the galaxy working together to build something greater than any single species could achieve alone.
Soon, human lights would join that constellation, adding Earth's unique perspective to the ongoing conversation of galactic civilization. The enhanced humans like Zara had served their purpose, demonstrating that humanity could compete with any species in terms of capability. But the real future lay with people like Marcus, natural humans who could grow, adapt, and contribute in ways that couldn't be programmed or predicted. On Earth, in the hidden facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral